She whispered an old tune in the sacred hall, and one by one, the ancient guardians awoke. Beginning. The temple of Reshkala stood silent at the heart of the alien world Kuralis, an enormous dome carved from black stone older than any civilization. The city surrounding it had thrived for millennia, yet no one dared enter the sacred hall at its center. Legends spoke of what lay within. The guardians, beings of unimaginable power, said to be slumbering until the world itself was in peril. Most dismissed them as myths, figures of children's stories told to frighten or comfort. But to the temple's priests, the legends were scripture. Do not disturb the guardians, lest the balance break. Into this world was born Alyra, daughter of a merchant and a woman with no lineage worth mentioning. She was known more for her imagination than her status. Her mind was full of stories and songs her mother once sang, songs that seemed out of place, older than memory. Her mother had died when Alyra was young, leaving only those melodies behind. One day, while wandering through the city, Alyra found herself slipping through the cracks of the old temple's outer defenses. Curiosity and mischief led her deeper than most citizens would ever dare. She reached the grand central chamber, a cavernous hall lined with towering statues, each shaped like warriors of impossible size, carved as though they might one day stand. The silence pressed down on her. Dust motes floated like stars. And in that silence, something stirred within Alyra, the urge to sing. She sat at the base of the largest statue and, without thinking, began to hum her mother's lullaby. The sound echoed, soft and sweet, threading through the stone chamber. And then the ground shook. At first, Alyra thought it was her imagination. But then she saw it, one of the stone giants shifting, fingers twitching, its head tilting down. She froze mid-note, but it was too late. The lullaby had resonated with something deep in the hall. One by one, the statue's eyes began to glow. First faintly, then like molten suns awakening after eons of sleep. The tremors grew. Stone cracked as dust cascaded down their massive bodies. They were not statues. They were guardians, and they had heard her call. Alyra stumbled back, heart pounding, as the first of them, towering, plated in what looked like crystalline armor, took a knee before her. Its voice rumbled like an avalanche. The song. The key has returned. Before she could respond, more guardians stirred. Each bowed their heads slightly toward her, their gazes fixed not with hostility, but reverence. News of the awakening spread like wildfire through the city. Priests came rushing, horrified and awestruck. Soldiers surrounded the temple, fearful of what would come next. But the guardians did not move against them. They only stood, silent, waiting, eyes fixed on the girl who had sung. The high priest confronted her. "Child, what have you done?" I only sang," Alyra whispered. The priest's face blanched. He explained what few ever knew. The lullaby was not just a melody. It was the song of awakening, passed down secretly for generations among chosen bloodlines tied to the guardians. Whoever carried the tune bore the authority of the first voice, the one who had bound the guardians to protect the world long ago. Alyra's mother, it seemed, had been the last heir of that hidden lineage. And now, unwittingly, Alyra had claimed her inheritance. But why had the guardians awoken now? The answer came swiftly. Scouts reported massive fleets appearing on the horizon, alien invaders from beyond Kuralis, wielding technology far superior to anything the planet possessed. Their purpose: conquest and enslavement. The guardians had slept through centuries of peace, but Alyra's song had stirred them because danger had finally come. And now, everyone looked to her. Alyra was terrified. She was no queen, no general, no hero. She was just a girl with a tune her mother once sang. Yet the guardians kneeled to her, awaiting command. The war. The invasion began within days. Burning ships descended from the skies. The city's defenses crumbled almost instantly. But where armies failed, the guardians stood like living mountains. At Aelira's hesitant direction, they marched into battle. Their weapons were not of steel or fire, but of pure elemental force. Some channeled storms with a wave of their arms. Others shifted the very earth beneath their feet, creating walls of stone to shield fleeing civilians. The invaders were relentless, deploying mechanized warbeasts and orbital bombardments. Yet every time, the Guardians countered, because every time, Aelira hummed or sang, guiding their rhythm, lending focus to their ancient power. Her voice became the heart of resistance. Soldiers began to fight not with despair, but with hope. For as long as she sang, the Guardians could not fall. But hope came with cost. The invaders soon realized the truth, that the young girl was the key. Strike her down, and the Guardians would falter. During the fiercest battle, their forces broke through the defensive lines and stormed the temple itself. Aelira, exhausted and frightened, hid behind the feet of the largest guardian. Blaster fire scorched the sacred walls. And then, in desperation, she did something her mother had once warned her never to do. She sang the lullaby backwards. The effect was immediate. The guardians roared with power, their forms blazing with light. Instead of simply defending, they surged outward in a storm of force that ripped through the invaders' ranks like paper. Machines shattered. Warships fell from the sky. The enemy, who had believed themselves unstoppable, broke and fled in terror. Ending. When the smoke cleared, the world of Corrales was saved. The Guardian stood silent once more, awaiting her next word. The people, who had once dismissed her as an ordinary girl, now called her the voice of the Guardians. The high priest bowed deeply before her. The bond has returned. You are the songkeeper now. The Guardians are yours to guide. But Aelira shook her head. She was not a ruler. She did not want thrones or temples. All she wanted was to protect her people, as her mother must have wished long ago. And so she made a choice. She commanded the Guardians to return to their slumber, but not forever. Instead, she sang a new song, one of watchfulness, binding them to awaken not only in times of war, but when her descendants carried the song. From that day forward, Aelira traveled the world, teaching fragments of the melody to those she trusted, ensuring the tune would never die again. The lullaby her mother once sang had become more than comfort. It had become the shield of worlds. And in the temple, the Guardians slumbered once more, heads bowed, waiting for the next whisper of the song.